silent nurse ignored by everyone, until a helicopter demanded their SEAL Combat Pro. The fluorescent lights flickered in the small hospital wing, casting long, jittery shadows across the polished linoleum floor. Emily Harper, the new nurse, walked silently down the corridor, her footsteps soft but deliberate, each tap of her shoes a whisper against the hum of ventilators and distant beeping monitors. She carried her clipboard close to her chest, her eyes scanning each room with a mixture of caution and quiet determination. No one noticed her, or at least they didn't care to. From the nurses' station, a chorus of mocking laughter rose, sharp and biting. "Did you see her?" one of the senior nurses whispered, a grin stretching across her face. "I mean, who even walks like that in a hospital? Like a ghost?" Emily's shoulders tensed, but she didn't respond. She had learned early in life that words thrown at her rarely stuck, until they had to. "Oh, come on," another nurse chimed in, her voice dripping with condescension. "She probably can't even handle a patient without panicking. Watch and see. She'll spill meds or forget vitals within a week. Mark my words." The words hung in the air, heavy and acrid, each one a small dagger aimed at Emily's chest. But rather than trembling, she felt a strange calmness settle over her, a quiet storm brewing beneath her composed exterior. "They don't know me," she thought. "They don't know a damn thing about me." It wasn't the first time she had been underestimated, not in med school, not during her rotations, not even back home. But this was different. Here in this crowded, buzzing hospital in the heart of a city that never slept, she was a ghost they refused to see, and the frustration that had been simmering in her veins for years began to boil. The next patient call came just as the mocking laughter peaked. Emily's pager buzzed sharply. "Room 402, code blue, immediate response." She froze for a heartbeat, feeling every eye in the nurse's station turn toward her. A smirk formed on one of the senior nurse's lips, a mix of amusement and disbelief. "Well, looks like the ghost has to work. Let's see if she even makes it there alive." Emily didn't flinch. She didn't even acknowledge the comment. Instead, she sprinted down the hall, the sharp clicks of her shoes echoing like gunshots. Her heart hammered, not from fear, but from the surge of adrenaline that came only when the stakes were high. Bursting into room 402, she found an elderly man convulsing, monitors screaming in warning tones. Oxygen lines hissed, and the small space smelled sharply of antiseptic and fear. Her hands moved with fluid precision, her mind racing faster than her pulse, yet every movement deliberate. "Call the crash cart! Stat!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos, commanding attention. And then just as she connected the defibrillator pads, the senior nurse who had mocked her earlier appeared in the doorway, eyes wide in shock. She actually knows what she's doing. Emily ignored her, focusing entirely on the patient. Hands steady, eyes sharp, she monitored the vitals, administered the necessary doses, and within moments stabilized the man's heart rhythm. The machines quieted, the beeping slowed, and the room felt almost unnervingly calm. But even in that quiet, the undercurrent of tension lingered. The nurses outside were still whispering, still judging, but Emily's calm defiance had begun to shift something unseen. A small tremor of doubt passed through the group. Could it be that their assumptions had been entirely wrong? She stepped out of the room, wiping sweat from her brow, and the senior nurse confronted her. How did you—" Emily's eyes met hers, unflinching, unwavering. She said, "Experience. Not a boast, not a challenge, just a fact." For a moment, silence reigned. Then, from somewhere deep in the corridor, a distant roar shattered it. The low, thunderous sound of a helicopter approaching. Not the usual hospital helicopter. This was different, powerful, demanding attention. Heads snapped toward the window, phones raised, conversations halted mid-sentence. The senior nurse's smirk faltered. The other nurses stared, mouths open, disbelief etched into every line of their faces. Emily's pulse didn't quicken, not yet. She had learned to stay calm when everyone else panicked. But even she couldn't deny the strange shiver running down her spine. What in the world? The sound grew louder, the floor vibrating slightly, as if the building itself was trembling in anticipation. Nurses scattered, pushing stretchers and carts aside. The doors to the hospital entrance swung open, slammed against the walls, and for the first time, Emily felt her usually unshakable composure falter. A shadow passed over the corridor, and she looked up. Her eyes widened. The helicopter hovered just outside the hospital's emergency bay, blades churning the cold air into a frenzied storm. And then she saw them. Figures moving with lethal precision, descending toward the doors, their presence commanding the room. She didn't run. She couldn't. Every instinct, every lesson, every heartbeat told her this was no ordinary emergency. The whispers of the mocking nurses turned to gasps. What? Who? Emily, however, took a step forward, her quiet determination radiating like fire. I don't know, she said under her breath, but I'm ready. And in that instant, something shifted. The laughter, the mocking, the doubt, all of it faded into insignificance against the rising tide of raw, undeniable intensity outside. She could feel it. The kind of moment that changes everything. The kind that history remembers, even if no one expects it. Her eyes fixed on the helicopter, her mind racing with questions, her heart pounding with anticipation. Then came the first shout from the incoming team, clear, commanding, unmistakable. Where is the SEAL Combat Pro? Emily froze, the words echoing in her ears. Every head in the nursing station turned toward her. Every mocking smirk had vanished, replaced with a mixture of awe, fear, and confusion. She swallowed hard. The world, the hospital, the people who had doubted her, it all shrunk down to a single point of focus. Her. Her fingers gripped the clipboard tighter, nails digging into the wood. She could feel the energy in the room shift. She could feel every heartbeat around her synchronize in anticipation. She could feel the impossible becoming inevitable. The helicopter landed with a deafening thud. Doors swinging open violently, blades sliced the air with sharp, terrifying rhythm. The team moved with flawless, disciplined precision. Emily stepped forward, every nerve screaming, every muscle taut, her voice steady but firm. I can help. Tell me what to do. The lead figure, a man in tactical gear, every bit a SEAL, paused, scrutinized her, and then in a voice that brooked no argument said, Good, you're coming with us. The whispers returned, but this time they weren't mocking. They were stunned, bewildered, respect tinged with disbelief. Emily's heart raced, but not with fear. This was the moment she had trained for, lived for, and fought silently to achieve. Every slight, every whisper, every doubt cast her way had led to this exact moment. And as the helicopter prepared to lift again, the city skyline blurred in the whirling storm of rotors, she felt a thrill unlike any other, a pulse of raw, undeniable purpose that made everything else fade into insignificance. The senior nurse's voice rang out behind her, almost a whisper, almost lost in the chaos. She's unbelievable. Emily didn't look back. She didn't need to. Her focus was forward. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought laser-focused on the unknown ahead. The helicopter roared into the sky, carrying her and the SEAL team into a world she had never imagined, where silence was power, courage was tested, and the quietest voice might just be the one that changes everything. And in the shadow of the hospital, the city unaware of the storm above, Emily Harper's story was only beginning. The wind tore through the hospital courtyard, whipping the edges of Emily's scrubs around her legs like wild flags in a storm. The helicopter hovered above, blades slicing the air with deafening precision, the roar vibrating through every bone in her body. Dust and debris swirled around the landing zone, stinging eyes, forcing her to squint against the chaos. "Stay back," a voice shouted from the helicopter, authoritative, commanding, and possibly calm in the midst of absolute madness. Emily instinctively froze, watching figures descend with seamless, lethal grace. Tactical gear glinting in the midday sun, faces hidden behind visors, weapons cradled like extensions of their own arms. These were no ordinary soldiers. These were elite Navy SEALs. The crowd of hospital staff had gathered at the edges, whispers turning into stammering disbelief. Is this real?" one nurse stammered. Others simply stared, unable to comprehend the scene unfolding before them. Emily's pulse thundered in her ears. Her hands, still gripping the clipboard from the previous chaos, felt suddenly weightless. Her calm composure from the cold blue moments ago was replaced by an adrenaline spike that made every sense sharper, every sound louder, every heartbeat a drum of impending action. The lead SEAL, a tall figure with a presence that could dominate a room even without words, stepped forward, his voice cutting through the roar of the rotors. "Where is the SEAL Combat Pro?" The words hung in the air like a challenge. Emily swallowed, heart hammering. She had trained for emergencies, for chaos, for life or death moments, but nothing had prepared her for this. Not the cold blues, not the mockery, not the quiet nights of studying vital signs. This was beyond anything she could have imagined. Her mind raced, the slow, methodical calm she relied on in hospitals clashing with the fast, furious storm of adrenaline coursing through her veins. This isn't a drill. This isn't training. This is real. Before she could process fully, another SEAL sprinted forward, landing beside her with a precision that left her momentarily breathless. "You're coming with us," he said. No explanation, no negotiation, just a command that brooked no argument. Emily didn't hesitate. She had a fleeting flash of disbelief. What about the patients, the hospital, the chaos? But it dissolved immediately. Her instincts kicked in, honed by years of silent preparation. She nodded, her voice firm even against the howl of the helicopter blades. "Lead the way." And just like that, she was swept into a world she didn't recognize. The SEALs moved with machine-like efficiency, the kind of coordination that made chaos seem ordered. Emily followed, adrenaline sharpened to a blade, every step measured yet urgent, her heartbeat synchronized with the pounding rotors above. The helicopter doors slammed shut, enclosing them in a whirlwind of wind, noise, and tension. The interior was tight, functional, but every detail screamed military precision. Emily's eyes darted to the faces of the team around her, unweedable masks of discipline, calm under pressure, every movement purposeful. A jolt of turbulence rocked the aircraft and she stumbled slightly, gripping a support bar. "Whoa, hold on," she shouted instinctively, the first real sound she had made since being pulled from the hospital. The team around her barely flinched, moving as if the storm outside was nothing more than a breeze. The lead SEAL leaned close to her, voice barely audible over the roar. "This isn't a hospital emergency. This is life or death. Pay attention, stay sharp, trust no one completely." Emily's stomach nodded. She had faced emergencies before, but nothing had demanded this level of readiness. Her mind raced through protocols, training, medical knowledge, but the rules here were different. Every wrong move could be fatal. Suddenly, the helicopter tilted sharply, a violent dip that threw several of the team members off balance. Emily's eyes widened in instinctive panic, but she forced herself to steady her breathing, grounding herself in the moment. Focus, observe, adapt. The team leader's voice cut through again, commanding yet calm. "Eyes up, mission approaching. Prepare for insertion. A flash of metal outside the window caught Emily's attention. The landscape below was chaotic, rivers swollen with storm water, streets flooded, vehicles abandoned mid-drive. She realized with dawning horror that the mission was unfolding in a disaster zone, already wrought by nature or conflict, or perhaps both. "Brace yourselves," another shout rang out, urgent, resonant. The helicopter's skid scraped violently against the rooftop as the team prepared for deployment. Emily's stomach flipped as the ground rushed up to meet them. She gritted her teeth, gripping straps as the aircraft slowed, the storm of blades whipping the air into a frenzy. Then came the jump. The seals dropped first, descending into the maelstrom below with controlled precision. Emily followed, heart in her throat, wind screaming past her ears, every sense screaming at her that this was far beyond any hospital scenario. As she hit the ground, mud and water soaking through her shoes, she realized the magnitude of what she had stepped into. Chaos stretched in every direction, fires from damaged structures, people screaming and running, debris flying like deadly missiles. And then the orders came, sharp and precise. Move, secure the target, extract immediately. Emily sprinted alongside the SEALs, her medical training suddenly merged with survival instinct. She assessed injured civilians mid-stride, administered emergency first aid, and even assisted in clearing debris, all while bullets and shrapnel whizzed past. The adrenaline was relentless, the pace merciless, yet every movement was essential. She could hear her own voice over the storm. "Stay down, watch the flank, keep moving." Shouts mixing with screams, wind, and rotor blades. Her heart pounded like a war drum. Every second was life or death. Every breath could be the last. Then came a twist that sent a shock wave through her. A team member was hit, not fatally, but enough to disrupt the flow. Emily didn't hesitate. She dove, dragging the injured SEAL to cover, administering emergency care instinctively. "Are you crazy?" another SEAL shouted, half in fear, half in awe. "You're not even supposed to be here." Emily's eyes met his. "I am here, and I'm not leaving anyone behind." The lead SEAL nodded once, sharply, a silent acknowledgement of her capability. In that instant, Emily Harper was no longer the quiet nurse dismissed by her colleagues. She had become a critical force in a mission that demanded courage, precision, and relentless focus. Above them, the helicopter circled, rotors slicing through storm clouds as if cutting through the impossible itself. Emily's heart raced, not from fear, but from the raw electric awareness that she was alive in a storm bigger than she had ever imagined, and that every decision she made would ripple through the chaos below. And just as she thought she had a moment to catch her breath, the lead SEAL barked another order. "Targets moving. Move now." Emily bolted, shouts and screams blending into the deafening symphony of the storm. Her mind raced, heart pounding, muscles burning, yet every thought was clear. Adapt, survive, save lives. The mission had just begun, and Emily, once underestimated, now moving with lethal purpose alongside elite soldiers, knew one thing with absolute certainty: nothing would ever be the same again. The night was black, heavy with storm clouds, as Emily Harper sprinted through the debris-littered streets, the SEAL team moving around her like shadows of precision. Her shoes splashed through the murky water that pooled in the uneven pavement. Every gust of wind carried the smell of smoke and chaos. Sirens wailed in the distance, blending with screams and the distant crack of gunfire. This is it. This is real. Emily's heart pounded, each beat echoing in her skull. Her hand shook slightly, not from fear, but from the sheer intensity of everything happening at once. Every sense was heightened. The smell of blood and rain, the taste of adrenaline, the deafening roar of the rotors above, the distant sound of shouts that pierced the night. "Emily, cover the left flank," shouted a SEAL beside her, voice cutting through the chaos. She didn't hesitate. Training and instinct took over. She crouched behind a broken wall, scanning the shadows for threats, her mind working faster than her body could move. Then it came, a sudden ambush. Figures emerged from the wreckage, armed, moving with calculated precision. Bullets zipped past, striking concrete and metal with deafening impacts. Emily's pulse skyrocketed. She dove to the ground instinctively, dragging an injured civilian out of harm's way. Holy, this is insane, she thought, adrenaline screaming in her veins. Yet she didn't freeze. She administered a quick patch, stabilized him, and signaled the SEAL beside her. "I can do this. I have to." The lead SEAL appeared beside her, voice sharp. "Targets are splitting. Move with me." Without hesitation, Emily followed, running, crouching, sliding through puddles and rubble. The mission was chaotic, unforgiving, and every second mattered. Then came the first twist. An ally turned. Someone she thought was on their side. A sudden betrayal that sent bullets in directions no one anticipated. Emily barely avoided a deadly shot, heart in her throat. Her mind raced, trying to process the split-second change in reality. "Betrayal!" someone shouted, panic lacing the word. Emily's instinct screamed, "Adapt, survive, protect." She darted toward the SEAL who had been targeted, dragging him to cover and providing immediate first aid. Her hands moved with precision, her mind sharp, every second critical. The storm intensified, rain blinding, wind cutting, lightning flashing over the crumbling cityscape. Emily could hear the helicopter circling above, a constant reminder of the extraction point. But reaching it would not be simple. Each step forward brought new threats, debris, hidden enemies, and the unrelenting pressure of the mission. Then came another twist, a structural collapse. A building nearby, weakened by prior chaos, groaned and then began to give way. Screams erupted as civilians were trapped under beams. Emily's eyes widened, heart stopping for a second. But training and instinct surged again. She sprinted into the chaos, lifting debris, stabilizing the injured, guiding terrified people to safety. Every move precise, every decision life or death. "Emily, get out," one SEAL shouted, panic hidden beneath his calm exterior. But she didn't leave. "I'm not leaving anyone behind," she thought, and every fiber of her being focused on saving lives in the chaos. The enemy regrouped, launching another assault. Emily found herself caught between bullets and debris. She shouted, "Move, covering fire." Her voice rose above the storm, cutting through panic and chaos, a rallying force. The SEAL team adjusted, following her directions in perfect harmony, creating a temporary shield of order in the madness. Then came the final twist of the night. A secondary threat emerged from the shadows. An explosion that sent debris flying, knocking Emily off her feet. Pain shot through her arm, but she forced herself up. She saw the SEAL team leader struggling under rubble, his tactical gear compromised. Without hesitation, Emily ran, lifting and pulling him free with a strength she hadn't realized she possessed. "You saved me! You're insane!" he gasped, astonishment and respect mingling in his tone. Emily shook her head, voice rising above the roar. "We don't survive alone. Focus! Move!" Every second was a blur. Chaos, screams, shouts, thunder, explosions, gunfire, rain. Emily moved through it all, her skills, courage, and quick thinking now fully in the spotlight. Her quiet demeanor had disappeared. She was now a force, a lifeline, a strategist, a protector. The helicopter descended again, extraction point in sight, but obstacles remained. Enemy positions, structural collapses, terrified civilians caught in the crossfire. Emily directed both the SEALs and the civilians with precision, moving faster, thinking faster, shouting commands, heart racing with raw intensity. And then, in a final shocking twist, the lead SEAL pointed ahead. Enemy retreating, but something's not right. Emily's stomach dropped. A second ambush. They were walking straight into another trap. Her pulse spiked. No, not now. She scanned the area, noticing subtle movement, a flicker of shadow, a glint of metal. "Left! Left!" she screamed, dragging a civilian behind her. Bullets tore through the air, splintering concrete around them. Lightning struck nearby, illuminating the chaos in stark, blinding flashes. Every movement counted. Hesitation could mean death. Minutes, or was it hours, felt like an eternity. Emily's mind and body were on fire, but she refused to stop. Her quiet, underestimated self had transformed into a decisive, fearless force in the storm. Every risk calculated, every life precious, every decision critical. The extraction point was finally within reach. The helicopter hovered, ready, rotors tearing the rain into a frenzy. Emily guided the last civilians, the last SEALs, every step synchronized with the roaring machine above. And just as she prepared to climb aboard, a final shout echoed, a warning, sharp, cutting through the chaos. "Behind you!" Emily turned, heart racing faster than ever. But she didn't falter. Every scream, every shout, every second of training culminated in this moment. She acted with precision, moved with courage, and ensured the team reached the helicopter safely. The storm, the chaos, the relentless twists of the night, they were still all around her. But as Emily climbed into the helicopter, soaked, bruised, exhausted beyond words, she realized something profound. She had survived, thrived, and proven herself in a world that had doubted her every step of the way. And even as the helicopter lifted, ascending into the stormy night sky, Emily Harper's journey was far from over. The twists weren't finished, the challenges weren't over, and the world below still screamed with chaos. But she had become something more than a quiet nurse. She had become a force that could never be ignored. Her voice, hoarse but strong, rose above the roar of the blades. If my story touches even a corner of your heart, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Every comment, every reaction pushes me further into the storm, and together we face the impossible. The helicopter vanished into the darkness, the storm raging on, leaving only the echoes of Emily Harper, a quiet nurse turned unstoppable force. Her story, a relentless, gripping testament to courage, skill, and the power of the underestimated.